Hi all. Now you will hear a brief retelling of the film Willard. Enjoy watching. Weird-looking types chooses a rat killer, which started up in his basement, bought a good old mousetrap, but he himself becomes her first victim, passing by his sick mother's room. Willard Styles tries not to attract attention to himself. From the room, she talks some nonsense about what does the smell of rats smell like, but she never saw them in the house. No matter how much he doesn't want it, but Willard has to go see his mother. They have a painful relationship. Match considers him a complete loser. Supposedly his stupid name is to blame for this. It was because of him that Willard was bullied at school and didn't give it to the girl, so from now on she will call him Clark. At night, all the mousetraps went off, but not a single bite was caught. Willard works in a factory, which his late father built. But now it belongs to his ex-partner. He found a girl at work, occupying his table. The director called Willard to explain the situation. Mr. Martin, and go to his office. For a man, even more stress than visiting your mother's room. Sorry, the employee made a mistake, which led to a week-long factory downtime. And the girl must now clean up after him. Willard got very tense when the boss started talking about his parents. He thinks the house needs to be sold and send Mrs. Styles to an expensive boarding house. Mousetraps didn't help, so it's time to try out the adhesive strips. A loud squeak in the middle of the night woke up his son and mother. One of the rats was caught and unsuccessfully tries to hide from the person. Willard understood almost immediately that cannot harm a defenseless creature and freeze the rat with vegetable oil. He collected for his old mother that a bird flew into the house. Noticing all on my son's hands, she complained that he is too old for these things, and it's time for him to get a girlfriend. Neatly combing the rat, Willard gave her the name Socrates, and then returned it to the basement to relatives, and fed them all nuts. For the first time in his life, the poor guy had a real friend. Another working day. Another round of ridicule. Bullying. The boss put a lock on the elevator, in which Willard arrived, and started showing off his new expensive car, and also make fun of the external, the look and slowness of a man. Advised him to change something in himself, so that he doesn't irritate his boss so much. Hiding behind moral execution, observed by the rest of the office workers. Person. In the cage, only a new employee came to the rescue. Catherine helps Willard relieve stress at home with rats, who tear the newspaper to shreds before his eyes. Then he saw a huge brown rat destroying tire, and called her Big Ben. Looks like this is the beginning of something big. Great friendship. Inspired Willard teaches rats the command to vomit. As a reward, he pours a bunch of nuts. A real training camp was organized in the basement. Camp. At Willard's command, the rats run in the right direction. Runs in and out of the bag, and, of course, they tear everything to shreds. Willard is late for work again. His excuse about his sick mother. The boss is not happy. He cannot fire a negligent employee, therefore deprives him of a week's salary. At this moment, in the head of an unsociable man, some plan has matured. He throws a bunch of rats into two bags, but Ben is closed. He's too big for that. However, the mega rat still gets into the bag, while driving away other rodents from it. Willard finds the house of his hated boss, releases a garage rat, and it gnaws its way inside. The man gives them the command to chew the tires. In the second bag, he found only Ben and was sure that he won't get through. However, the jaws of this rodent are capable of much. All the tires are destroyed. Hearing the noise, Mr. Martin went down to the garage. Art managed to get away at the very last moment. The dog followed him, who with her barking raised noise throughout the street. The angry guy grabs it and throws it straight into the bag. Rat's butt, hearing a squeal, quickly comes to his senses and releases the poor animal. Mr. Martin's private space in the parking lot is empty. The tire incident is heatedly discussed by the team. This cheered up Willard and other employees. And here is Mr. Martin, in an extremely bad mood. He had to talk to the cops all night and get to work by metro. Willard giggles and rejoices. He puts Socrates in his desk drawer. There are more and more rats in Willard's basement, and he is no longer able to feed them, so he hands the flock into the paws of Ben. Second in the rat hierarchy, after Socrates, he is tasked with finding a new home for the rodents. Willard confesses to Socrates that she loves only him and hates the rest. You will always be with me. I hate everybody, except you. Ben tries to get into the house, but is rudely thrown back into the basement. Only Socrates is allowed to be here. Overheard my son talking to rats. Mrs. Tails thought that Willard wants to get rid of from her and hid on the stairs in hysterics. Socrates ran to bed, support an upset friend, but after him, the big Ben immediately climbed up. Under the pretext that his mother can see him, Ben was thrown into the basement again. Willard can't call his mother in the morning. She's not in the bed either. He finds her lifeless body at the entrance to the basement. Most likely a weakened woman. Followed the noise and collapsed straight onto the stairs. But rats can now run around the house carefree. Inconsolable son blames Ben for everything. The body was taken away by ambulance workers, and there was only one person left in the house. He worries much more about the safety of Socrates than about the death of the mother. There is no one at the funeral ceremony, except Willard, and he decides, show your little friend to your Delemoim. Catherine unexpectedly came to support her colleague. Then the mother's attorney showed up. He tells the orphan that after the death of his father there were debts, and my mother mortgaged the house. So if you don't sell it, he will go to the bank. Willard is hysterical and panicking. He does not understand. Why should I be responsible for my parents' mistakes? But begins to suspect that the matter is not clean when he sees a lawyer in the company of his boss. The house is infested with rats, and all surfaces are strewn with rat poop. Catherine knocked on the door, so Willard wouldn't be lonely. She decided to give him a cat. He lacked strength of character to refuse, and he accepted the gift. Just threw the poor animal into the cat's house. Fleeing from hungry rats, started to climb as high as possible, but the legs from the cabinet were instantly ground off. Running into the basement, she tried to hide behind a hole in the net, but in another way, Ben was already waiting for the cat and biting her paw, sent to be torn to pieces by his relatives. In a dusty room, desperate Willard looks at his father's things, which were with him at the time of death. Swiss knife with traces of blood. He wants to do that. What did my father do at the time? But Socrates does not allow him to do this. Ben watched this scene from above, pretending to be asleep. Willard was waiting for the rat with a cane under his pillow, but missed during the strike. Socrates condemns him, and the discovered Nora was carefully sealed. But it did not help. After a while, Ben sits on the bed again, and next to him lies a ground cane. Willard is getting ready for work and is angry when he sees that Ben is already sitting inside the back. But friendly Socrates settles down next to him. The employee left both rats in the warehouse and found a notice of dismissal on my desk. Enraged, Willard burst into the boss's room and demanded an explanation. As it appears, saved him from being fired all this time. Only still living mother, and under the terms of the contract, according to which the son of the founder must always hold a position in the company. The boss doesn't care, especially for lawyers. The former employee still has no money. Willard agrees to sell his house to his boss, but begs him not to fire him. At the same time, the secretary went to the warehouse for Christmas decorations and screamed when she saw Socrates. Mr. Martin came down to her cry. Finding a rat, he smeared it on the shelf with a metal stick. Alas, the weakling didn't lift a finger to protect your only friend. Willard volunteered to remove Socrates' scraps, and now he's trying to convince himself that there's nothing to be done. But others can do something for him. And he packs his pets into all his suitcases, which I found in the house, and then unloaded them inside the van. Mr. Martin stayed late at work, and while the sleepy old man decided to visit an adult site, Willard advances towards him with a horde of rats. Unnoticed, they filled the office. Willard himself boldly showed up in front of the most hated person in my life and finally said everything. What does he think about him? Also blaming his father for his suicide. But the old man is not simple and strayed from Willard, went on the run. Ben provided backup as always. Lord of the Rats locks the old man in the elevator and gives the command to tear when hundreds of rats with a body go down the elevator. Willard says goodbye to Ben. He's not going to take it home. At home, the remains of a rat colony. Willard poisons with poison and a smoke bomb, and their body burns. Also seals all the cracks and holes in the house, so that not a single rodent can enter here anymore. He also did not open it to the police. But he couldn't resist Catherine. The girl came to report the brutal death of her boss. Willard unexpectedly invites Catherine to dinner, and while he is looking for a coat not stained with blood, girl goes to the toilet to relieve herself. Unknowingly, she leaves a passage for rats. Ben is also already in the house. People can't leave because the tires of Catherine's car are hopelessly damaged. Besides, Willard is noticed by the cops who were waiting for him. The man returns to the house and takes a knife. Suddenly, rats poured out of the stone chimney in streams and set off in pursuit of the former owner. Willard is stymied. Ben looks down at him with contempt. Sorry, Ben. I am sorry I left you there. He continues to make excuses to the rat, and the trenches, seeing this, understand that they are dealing with a real psycho. Willard throws a bat with a mousetrap on Ben and injures the animal. I only love Socrates, and I hate you. Catherine began to guess how the boss died, and Ben ran away after biting off his paw. Willard is also trying to escape from the damned house, but the bars on the windows interfere with him. He asks Catherine for help, but the frightened girl runs away. Is already collapsing under the weight of the rats. The ceiling, they are everywhere, and on top, as always, Ben. He bites into the face of his enemy, and dozens of rodents hang on a person. Willard falls off the stairs and Effa lies down, but doesn't die, but still finishes off the hated rat leader as expected. Willard has finally lost his mind and got a registration in a mental hospital. He also made a friend here, White Rat, which he mistook for the reborn Socrates. And Willard is already thinking through an escape plan.